Hello, this is Mo, Transmitter Solutions. Today we're going to be covering a couple of topics. So we're going to be covering logs, and we're also going to be covering charts and how each one works and how we can better understand them so that we can use the PAL portal more efficiently. So let's just go ahead and hop right into the very first one. So we're going to start with logs. And in logs, we can see a couple of things, right? So the first thing we're going to see is here it says the user and how the user activated it, right? So here we can see a little rectangle. That just means that that's the PAL app. And so when it shows it like this, just normal authorized, that means that we just activated the PAL app normally. So we just clicked the button, it opened, it closed, and that's pretty much it. And then over here we can see the day it activated on, and we can see the time it activated on. But right below that, you can see that we have what I like to call the yellow football. You guys might have seen it. It's pretty much just like a yellow half football looking thing that is primarily used on the exit side of your gate. So if you just want to activate the PAL without having a primary credential, it's just something you can do without really doing anything, and you pretty much run over it. It'll activate, trigger the PAL to open, and that's pretty much it. So this is kind of what it looks like when you activate the yellow hockey puck or the yellow football. It'll look like a hand holding a transmitter because it pretty much works like the 433 PAL transmitter. So they're very similar. And then here, this is what it looks like when we go ahead and activate the app and we go ahead and latch it. And when it gets latched, it'll go orange. So that's how we know that it is now latched. And we know it unlatched because we get the PAL app symbol again, and the latch symbol goes white. And so that's pretty much how we know. So it was activated from 4330 to 4345 for about 15 seconds. It was latched. And then from there, we can go ahead and see this one here. This is going to be the PAL transmitter. So like I mentioned, the PAL transmitter and the yellow football, they look very similar because they work off the same principle. They work off the 433 signal receiver that the PAL has built in. So that 433 hockey puck and transmitter will only work with the PAL since they are specifically programmed to the PAL. Any other 433 transmitter will not work unless you have a designated receiver to go side by side with it. Other than that, you can see that this is what it looks like whenever you activate a Wiegand device. So if you do have that 433 receiver that I mentioned, this is what it'll look like. But here I activated it with a Wiegand keypad, so my pin code was just a 1234. And that's what it looks like. If I did have a card with a facility code or a transmitter, then this 0 would represent that facility code. And other than that, pretty much the log is pretty cool because it'll show us in real time what is happening. So if I was to activate it right now, it'll just show up here, and that it activates in real time. If we ever wanted to stop that for some reason, I'm not sure why we would, but if we ever did want to stop it, you would just click this button here and it would stop that. So whenever you activate something, you wouldn't really know unless you refresh the portal. You can also export the log, since the log will only be recorded on the PAL portal for 30 days. Anything more and it will start to auto delete, so it can free up space. Now, places is a little different. We'll cover that in a different topic, but pretty much the places only does it for 7 days. Device only does it for 30 days. Now, let's jump over to charts. And with charts, there's a couple of things we can see, but since there's not a lot to see here, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to a 2-week period. And pretty much here, it's going to allow us to select how much we want to be able to see at one specific time. So I want to see it in a 2-week margin. So we'll go ahead and change that, and there we go. It's going to show us what's happened in the last 2 weeks. And let's start with a voltage. Voltage is very important, right? Because if our voltage starts to fluctuate a lot, like right now I have a 15-volt power supply, it can vary a little bit, right, with these ranges. So it goes from 15 to 15.26. That's normal. But if it ever starts jumping from like 12 to 17 to 15 to 16 down to 11, then we have issues. What the PAL is going to do is, as a safety precaution, it's going to go ahead and kind of put itself into like a standby mode. And you guys at that point will need to reach out to us, and we can go ahead and get that reactivated. But it's best that you guys switch out the power supply or find a way to stabilize that power, so that the PAL doesn't trip and do the same thing, go back into standby mode again. It's just a safety precaution so that the PAL does not get damaged long term. And over here, this is just a regular signal. A lot of people like to ask me what's a good signal to be in. Pretty much anything above 10, you're gonna be good. You're gonna have a good time. Connection, this is just telling us how good the connection is, right? So like, did the PAL go offline? Is it online? And how long was it online for? That's what this is gonna show us here. So pretty much, the connection is pretty good, right? It's 90% connected here for the majority. So that's really good overall. Now here you can see that it just drops off and it stays off because I did turn the PAL off for that time. Then I did turn it back on for a little bit more testing, and then I turned it back off. And so that's kind of what it looks like, so you can get an idea of what you're looking for. Now 4G, it used to say 3G as well because the PALs could pick up 3G signal, but 3G is gone. So yeah, if you see 3G, that's kind of strange. But you should only be seeing 4G. That's the normal now. When it comes to BER or bit error rates, that's pretty much telling us how many mistakes we have in our signal. So if this starts peaking at 10 like it does here, then that's not really a good sign. But quick peaks like this, that's fine. But if you have big peaks and it pretty much just stays at 10 across, that's not really good. So as you guys can see here, pretty much throughout this whole graph, we can see that pretty much a normal base is that it does not go above 6. Now every now and then it does peak above 6, but that's fine. Those are just more rarities than anything. But this is telling us that our signal in this area is pretty good. One thing that you might see is if it does peak and it stays up there for a little bit of time, the PAL is going to restart itself because it's not getting any good signal, and so it's going to try to see if by restarting itself it can allocate a new tower. It's just going to try to allocate the best tower in the area. So if the current tower it's using is having too many mistakes, it's going to then reallocate itself to the next best tower. And so that's why your PAL might restart if it maxes out. So if you see your PALs restarting a lot, try to take a look at your BER, and that'll give you a good idea. Is this area just not good, or did someone just install a generator behind our PAL? And if they did, that could be throwing off some interference for us, which could be causing a lot of our issues, since unfortunately interference is not something we can see. We just have to do a little bit of investigation. Is it something in our area that we can control, or is it something in the environment unfortunately we can't control? And so this will kind of help us figure that out, to let us know if this is a good spot for the PAL. But multi is just going to show us all of our graphs at the same time, so there's not really a lot going on there. And if we wanted to see what happened 2 weeks before these 2 weeks, then we can just hit this button after we selected our period, and it'll show us what happened there. And you can pretty much go as far back as you want. I haven't reached a limit. So if you guys just wanted to see what's been going on with your PAL, try to get an understanding what's going on, this is going to be your best bet. So if you guys do have any questions, I'm going to leave our phone number and a good contact for us at the end. Or if you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments below. We're going to be checking that out. And until the next one, I hope you guys have a good one.